morning. It is morning huddle time. I'm Chad Prinky here alongside Stacy Holzinger, as always.
The nature of the beast is the competitive nature of the industry.
Is if you can see it, you can be it.
It's all about the people. The people are what make it great and worthwhile.
Yeah, anything that I think helps build the story behind the company is great.
These are the things that that you're like, we don't need that because we have plenty of work right now. Got it. But if you don't do it now, where are you going to have work in the future? The Morning Huddle Construction Show is fortunate to have 5 sponsors for Season 7, helping us to spread the word and create positive change in the construction industry. And we want to give a shout out to each of them and thank them now. First is Katz Abosch. This is a middle market accounting firm with a deep specialization in construction, tax, audit, accounting, fantastic group of people. Next is Lawrence Law. This is a boutique law firm that works with contractors and helps them with their day-to-day legal needs as well as all of their most significant legal challenges that they might run up against. Lawrence Law. Then we have Sandy Spring Bank, which is a regional bank in Maryland with a group of people who really understand what the needs of construction businesses are and who partner with you to achieve your financial aims. So Sandy Spring Bank. And then we have Marsh McLennan Agency, bonding and insurance professionals really just have unparalleled insight into the construction industry. They're the best in the business. And then lastly, we have Genesis AEC. And Genesis is a full service architecture, engineering, and construction management firm with a deep specialization in the life sciences industry. We also happen to have some of their folks help us with guest hosting from time to time. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Let's get back to the show. It is morning huddle time. Stacy, how are you this morning?
It's election day.
It is. It's election day.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people have been voting ahead of time, but I heard I was talking to my parents and everything, and the lines are still real crazy.
For the early voting, it wasn't for me because I came in like a moment before they closed. Like, hey, it's just me and my whole family coming in to vote. Yeah. Which didn't exist, but yeah, I think hopefully good turnout. It is the coolest moment, on the American calendar in my view. Like it's this opportunity. I love voting, and I love having the opportunity to live in a country where we get to vote. Our vote matters. Our vote actually counts. It's not BS. We definitely have some plenty of room for improvement, right? As a country, but we also have, I think, really fantastic, democracy here, and it's a special place to be.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the results for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it'll obviously a lot of focus gets put on the presidential election, but there's a lot of important down ballot things and interesting decisions that need to be made. One of the things that I would love to see in overall in our politics is a recognition that we are a whole hell of a lot more alike than we are, like it's if you buy into what the media feeds us and what the politicians feed us, we are a country divided.
Yeah,
that sells tickets.
right.
And it sells ads and it gets a lot of eyeballs. I got to tell you, I can't find people that I disagree with on most things. And I have friends on both quote unquote sides of the aisle. I think fundamentally we agree on don't hurt people, educate kids, keep costs reasonable for things the fundamentals we agree with, so much. And I think that any news outlet and any politician that gets their enjoyment from dividing us is an asshole.
I know. No, I'm totally with you on that for sure.
Yeah. So I you and I've talked a little bit about it, and I've got my, I could not be more down the middle on most items. So I recognize that probably makes me weird, but you know what? Politics is not a football team, okay? Don't pick a side and root for your side regardless of what happens. That's dumb.
Yes.
It's not.
There's so many gray areas, so.
That's right. You know what team I'm on? I'm on Team America.
Right.
So at the end of the day, if Harris wins, I want her to be super successful. If Trump wins, I want him to be super successful because I don't want America to suck. I want America to be awesome. So I'm
Right.
going to root for whoever it is after they're elected, and I'm going to let my voting happen at the ballot box. And I think if more of us did that, we'd live in a much, much better country with a lot less stress and stupidity that is, avoidable by, people just being obsessed with their team, which is just,
Yeah.
anyway. It's, but again, you got to think about it. Who profits from you being obsessed with your team?
Mhm.
There's only two players that I can think of. There's the parties themselves and there's the media.
Yeah.
So they keep that thing going. And meanwhile, every time I run into you at a cookout, we'll realize that we agree on pretty much freaking everything.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like it's, oh, hey, any damn way. I'm excited about our guest today. I'm excited to talk about the future of what we can expect in office, workplace trends. Our clients are, our audience members are, construction companies almost exclusively. When we peel through the demographics, it's like 90% contractors, some architects and engineers, and some smaller pockets of just people who are interested in the construction industry, kind of like you and I, Stacy, people who own businesses that service the construction industry.
Right.
And so we are all wondering about market sectors all the time. We are all wondering about what's going to be built. How what can we expect in these individual markets, and how should my business plan in terms of relationships and in terms of geographic sectors and things along those lines. So we have joining our show today, Mariela Buendia Corachano.
Oh my God, you did
Well,
really
look at
well.
you.
I'm impressed.
I should have put the Mariela. Sorry about that when I started. Yeah, but so thank you so much for joining our show. She is the founder and CEO of eStudio MBC, and she explores how companies are redefining hybrid work, balancing full-time office mandates with flexible remote options. And as leaders grapple with designing spaces and policies that boost productivity and retain talent, Mariela shares strategies to create in-office experiences that employees actually want to return to. And so she also dives into a key trend shaping the future of work and what companies can do to thrive in this evolving landscape. And in all the conversations that we've had leading up to this, I've enjoyed our dialogue, and I can tell you are a hound for this stuff. You wanted to know what Stacy and I do, how we're building our teams, and all those types of things, which perhaps we can get into today. But as we talk about the future of what we can expect in the workplace, and particularly helping contractors to envision what they're going to be building, what they're not going to be building, that type of stuff, we really appreciate your time and your insights today. So thanks for joining.
Thank you. And thank you for inviting me. This is, such a treat to be speaking about one of my passions, right? Because I work with all kinds of corporations and industries. And, in the beginning of the process, it's always, there's a finding kind of discovery process to try to understand, who the client is, what's important to them, what is it about the composition of these companies, so that we can tailor that workplace strategy and respond to them specifically, right? Because one size doesn't fit all.
Agreed. And how long have you been doing this type of work, just from a background standpoint? Paint the picture.
Oh God. I think I'm older than both of you, but in the business, I've been around 30 years.
Wow.
And 25 of those years, I worked at Gensler, which is the largest architecture and design firm. And after that, my last challenge, right? What I had left was, what happens if I start my own firm?
Yeah.
And that's, it was the right time for me. And so I did that. And, I'm finding that because I've been most of those 30 years here in DC, working around the world, but also I was in Mexico City. I started the Gensler office there and worked there and grew it for 4 years. That prepared me for this next step of starting my own firm.
That's excellent. Well, congratulations on starting your own firm. Yeah, and you're in good company of people who struck out and started to, hung their own shingle and built their own businesses in the past few years. How's it going in general?
It's actually it's going really well. When we launched, I got so many different calls from clients that I've had for years. And so, it's been very rewarding because now, I can focus on providing that customized client, service. And at the same time, part of my passion is design and design excellence. So I think that we can provide that very tailored experience to our clients. And on top of everything, as I told you before, I'm originally from Peru. And I believe in growing and mentoring and elevating women and, minorities as part of what we do as a firm. And so if you look at the composition of our firm, everyone has a very different background, being, Americans, Mexicans, Latin Americans from many different countries, Philippines, you name it. So it's a very diverse group of people, and we all work together and have a common goal of design excellence and the highest and customized client service.
There is something always really fun that I find anytime I come across a team that has extremely high levels of diversity, particularly when they come from different places in the world. I noticed that it's such a cool vibe that everybody, I'm always impressed at how people with these dramatically different backgrounds can totally share a common goal and work collectively, which shouldn't surprise me. But it is always cool to see. It's so that's wonderful to hear. Congrats.
Back to the initial point that you were making about politics, right? Yes, right. You don't belong to two bands. There are so many common values, right, that we share. And even when we are from different, generations, different parts of the world, we have common values. And that's really what unifies us.
There are way more things than we agree on than we don't. I think mostly what we don't agree on is exactly how to solve the problem, but that's okay. We can just let the best idea win and go for it. Let the votes go and then see what happens. That's kind of what we need to do, right? So, and it's similar inside an organization, isn't it? You build this team, you have everybody working toward a common goal. If we can all agree that there is a common goal, then it creates this openness and ability to allow the best ideas to kind of come to the surface. It doesn't matter who comes up with the idea. Let's do the right thing. Let's do the thing that makes the most sense, right? So I don't know. That's how I would recommend a leader run the business. Yeah, and it sounds like something that you've put together. So again, glad to hear it. Congrats. That's awesome. So let's dig into the future of the workplace a little bit. So here we are. It's been half a decade, almost, right there, since COVID-19 shook up everything, right? And it was just maybe the spark that got things moving in a direction that it was already going in, where we had this remote workplace push. And why don't maybe walk us through where we are today, 5 years after everybody had to go home in March of 2020. March of 2020.
March of 2020, yeah.
Right? When everybody had to go home in March of 2020 versus where we are today, 5 years later. Describe where we are today.
So it's really interesting, right? Because you have on one extreme, you have companies like, recently Amazon and Google and JP Morgan and, Skadden, a top 100 law firm, that are asking and mandating everyone to come back to the office 5 days a week, right? And so why is that, right? And I know that when we were prepping for this call, you and I were talking about, well, is it real estate that's driving this? They're paying for all these real estate and it is an expense. Is that driving? And the answer is maybe, right? Or maybe is that they're sticking to their own traditions, because all of them are, long lasting, mega companies, and they're setting their traditions and habits. Or because, and this is what I'm hearing from leadership, where, they're losing that strong culture that they had pre-pandemic, and they want to revive and regain that culture. Or, the other point that I think is very valid is that their young professionals, right, are asking for coaching and mentoring and being able to develop professionally. And that's harder to do remotely, right?
It is.
And
I think that's hard to argue. Yeah, I agree.
So that's on one hand. On the opposite hand, totally, right, 180, you have the days of fully remote setups, right, are passing, right, for most employees. And according to a 2023 LinkedIn, data analysis, right, it says that 50% year over year, the remote roles and, advertisement of positions in LinkedIn has been decreasing, right? So 50% year over year, you're saying, it's almost 5 years, right? It's going to be 6 years. And so that is dramatic here in the US. So those positions are changing. And the trend, it's actually skewing towards technology firms, particularly startups. And again, we were sharing, right? Your company, Chad, your company, Stacy, my company, right? And for us, we're a startup, right? Because we've been in business for a year. And part of what we're seeing with those kinds of companies, right? Like in a big company that it's representative is Airbnb, who pivoted to their live and work anywhere, right, program that they implemented during the pandemic. And then the other big one, again, tech company, Zillow, right? They switched from a permanent space to work from anywhere policy. And they have come up lately saying that the same wage to employees who moved away versus the people that are in headquarters in Seattle, there is no change in their wages. So of course, a lot of people moved to, secondary cities, right? They were working remotely. So
it's what drove the booms in these, places that hadn't seen a boom in a long time, right? Yeah.
Right. And so why is that, right? And the more I talk to these leaders, right, of these companies, it becomes more of a philosophical choice than maybe a financial choice for many of them, right? And, I can tell you that for me is more a philosophical, right? Because of the talent that I'm able to source, right? I have great talent in my firm. And so to me, it doesn't really matter where they are. What it matters is their individual situation and being flexible to that. So I think the key for, a fully remote workforce is that you have to trust your employees, right? That they're doing, and you have to provide the tools to do their best work and enable them to be productive. And it doesn't matter how it looks like, right? It may be fully remote, it may be hybrid, right? Because some of these people also want to come to the office sometime of the week. And then, of course, I have clients that are totally in between, right? That they're saying, okay, we're going to have mandates for 2 or 3 days. Others are recommending that. But at the end, right, it depends on the culture of the firm. It depends on the industry of the firm. Some firms' leaderships are saying, you know, we're not going to have an all-company mandate or an all-company policy. We're going to let the business unit leaders decide what that policy is. Yeah. And so it's all about the team. It's not about the company per se. And so all of this, I think, you know, that's really the situation that we're living in.
Yeah, it's right? A very mixed bag, and it's driven. If I'm hearing you right, it's driven by, you know, possibly many trends, but maybe the core trend would be philosophy. Would just be that this idea of like, if it is your business's philosophy that people work better when they are in an office environment with one another, and maybe tradition. Right, that combination of philosophy and tradition. We've always done it that way. This is a part of our sauce of how we got to be successful. We don't want to mess with that sauce. Then there's a very big push to return to work and do so for 5 days a week. And then there are gradients off of that. And then on the other end of the spectrum, startups like us are loving the fact, you know, certainly in our world. And again, we're not a construction company, but we're a professional services company. So, no, you know, if we are in person, we're generally at our clients' offices. And I think the same is true for you, right? Mariela, it's that if you are in person somewhere, you're flying to a client to go be with them in their space. As a professional services startup, maybe less important, but I don't know, you know, maybe when we have 100 employees, today we have 10, maybe when we have 100 employees, it might make sense to set up some hubs, you know, at that point to have, you know, offices. But right now I love the idea that we are able to hire all over the country, which is strategically valuable for us, and keep overhead down through that experience. And so if I'm a contractor and I'm listening to the show, it's like, will there be a return to commercial office build outs? Absolutely. And I think we've seen a lot of that. If you look at, you know, particularly trophy space, particularly, you know, in you know, certainly high A and trophy space has been powerful with a lot of these legacy companies that have the freaking money to build. Right. And you know, for large companies, it's going to continue to be a trend. But maybe, you know, where in the past I would have started a company and been me and my 10 people all in this region, maybe that's going away as much, right? Like for the startup, maybe less in person there. I don't know. Do you think that's a trend?
Well, it's really interesting that you say that, because right now, and I was explaining this to Stacy, we have 3 studios. We have a studio in DC, right? And we have an office in Rothland, and we're around 4 people, right? And so we decide when we're in the office.
Right.
We have a studio in Mexico City, and we have a studio in Lima, Peru. And so when we're all together is hybrid, right? Some of us are in person, some of us are virtual. But this is what works for us, right? We have made it work, and we have different, you know, technology tools that facilitates how we work and how we service our clients and how we come up with the best design for our clients, right? And so I think it's really culturally.
Yep. No, I think that's, you know, I also think I'll toss out another theory. This is fun to like test my pet theories with you. One thing that I've been saying, you know, since it happened, you know, since the work from home thing really was a push, and then everybody could return back to the office, but it wasn't happening at the degree that we all was like, wait a minute, why isn't everybody going back to the office? There was a direct correlation between, you know, the work from home mandates and then the return to home time period was had overlap with the hottest employment economy ever. That was obviously artificially inflated through trillions of dollars of bailout money that kept corporate profits at an all-time high in 2021 and 22. That there was this perfect storm, that the hottest employment market ever, and this push from work from home, where employees planted a flag and said, if you're not letting me work from home, I'm changing jobs. And so corporations were like, crap, we have to do whatever it takes to keep our people. And I think while there still are some staunch work from homers who are like, I'm an employee, I'm grade A, and I love working in jammies. While I think there's some of that, I'm also, we just, it lost a candidate, which never happens, by the way, damn it. No, I'm joking. But we just lost a candidate, somebody that we wanted to hire, who said, I got to be honest. One of the big things that's driving me is I really feel like I need a workplace environment. And the fact that you guys don't have that is a downside. And I was like, what? But that's a real thing. There really is so I wonder if you're seeing any data or trends on employees that actually want to go back to the office as opposed to, like working in their jammies.
So Chad, I think you brought up a really good point, which is exactly what I wanted to share with you, because, I have a lot of friends in recruiting companies, right? And this particular one recruits for professional service companies. And what he said is every person that's being interviewed for a new job, what is the first question they ask? What is your hybrid work policy?
Right.
And they're making decisions, right? I'm not saying primarily on that, but certainly it's a big influencer, right? Yep. If that person really wants to be in the office and you don't have an office, it's a problem. If that person wants to be hybrid and you don't have a hybrid policy, it's a problem, right? If there is that disconnect between what the candidate is looking for and what the company is offering, that is an issue, right? And so in my opinion, I think you need to be flexible, right, in order to attract and retain talent. Because at the end, your company's performance depends on your people, right? And so you're asking, is there any data that informs this? And I think that, one of the most interesting articles that I read is from Harvard Business Review, and it talks about using data to design your hybrid work policy. Right. And so basically what EY, this is an EY research project within, and they use their own constituencies, right? And their own hybrid work policies.
EY's Ernst & Young.
EY Ernst & Young, correct. Yep. And so what they were trying to figure out is what is the right amount of time to be in person?
Yeah.
And how can the corporate world get the best out of both worlds, right?
Right.
And so, part of the findings, which I thought was really interesting, is that the ideal, right, in-person work is between 40 and 60% in the office. That's what they're saying, right? And they're saying that with that, the employees rate highest in well-being, highest in belonging or engagement, highest in skills development, when compared to fully remote people or fully in-person people. Isn't that interesting, right?
It really is.
And so, some of the findings were really also very interesting because they're saying that what are the benefits of the in-person part of hybrid? You got it, right? The in-person part of hybrid.
That's right.
And what they're saying is that what are the benefits? Basically, there is, a better experience with real-time feedback because you're talking to the person, right? you're seeing the reaction, and you're giving them live feedback. They're saying that it's a more equitable opportunity when there are opportunities for new projects, etc. But more importantly is the benefits from the on-the-job observation learning, right? Which goes back to learning as you're working, right? With more senior staff, with your peers, through conference calls with clients or through meetings with clients, etc. So on-the-job observational learning is much better, of course, in person. And then what they said about, the benefits of the remote part of hybrid, I thought was really telling, because they're saying that what's interesting in terms of the results is how people feel when they have the flexibility of working remote. They feel more appreciated by the leadership, because they know that the leadership wants them to come back to the office. But because they're giving that opportunity to work from home, they are actually appreciating more, right? That the leadership is investing on what is good for them.
Yeah, it's appreciated, trusted, empowered. It's all those.
And it has a positive perception, right, by the employees.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. There's, hey, yes, there are obvious and clear benefits to working from the office, both for the company and the employee, and, for their development and for supervision and for, we could go to both sides of this coin for why is it better for the employee, why is it better for the customer, or I'm sorry, for the company. And you get these loyalty, if you will, points or engagement points, employee satisfaction points for having good work from home. Now, I want to be clear. The purpose of this conversation, again, for our audience, because our audience is our construction company, the message isn't, hey, this is the work from home policy that you guys should embrace. There are some realities in the construction industry that just, will keep you from embracing a lot of this stuff. What we're trying to do is make sure that you got a clear picture for what the market is thinking and doing, and the kind of thought leadership that is likely to drive trends in the workplace environment. So along those lines, talk to us about the spaces of the future, right? Talk to us about when you're thinking about space planning. Is there anything different? Is there anything special about the types of spaces that we see coming down the line, as trends right now? Same space, same footprint, more or less. What are you seeing?
So let me be very clear to your audience. The office is not going away.
Right. Yeah.
It's not.
What
going
about for
away.
federal workers? Are they going to win? Sorry, different topic, different day. But we have got to get these federal workers back to the damn office. I mean, it was bad enough to begin with. I love federal workers. I love them. But there's a supervisory gap there for sure in a work from home bureaucratic environment. Continue. Sorry.
Okay. So maybe the way to explain it is using a case study.
Yep.
So I have this particular client, right? And they're based in DC. And to me, is one of the clients that actually cracked the code of hybrid.
Nice.
Okay. And, I've worked with them for 20 years. I did a renovation of their space 15 years ago, and it was, it went really well. I was a Gensler. And in the design of their new space, I was actually the design director and client relationship leader while at Gensler. But they're a friend. They're, in my opinion, they are a very good case study for what hybrid means. So when we started the project, right, we did it with the leadership, and it was all about, I was explaining to you, we were trying to figure out what the workplace strategy was, right? And the idea and the result of that exercise was, we're going to reduce the footprint by 30%, which means that only 70% of people will have a place to work.
Okay.
70%, right? And that we designed the space for 100% free address, meaning nobody has an assigned seat.
Okay, got it.
Okay, got it? Yes. So at the time, the managing partner said, if I ran out of space because people are coming back to work, that would be a good thing. Right?
Yeah, because
Talk
I have
about risk.
people, right. Yeah. Because I have people, lined out the door saying, we really want to be back in here. Like, okay, great. We'll take that. We'll take that risk. We'll run out of room first.
Exactly. And that to me was a very risky proposition, but the whole leadership of the firm said, that's the way we're going to go. Well, guess what? Guess what?
They wanted to come back to the office.
Everyone wants to come back. So they right now are one of the highest firms and clients that I have where they have an average of 70% attendance during the week. I don't have any other clients that have that attendance.
Yeah.
But believe it or not, yes, 70%, right? And when I look back, right, at what did we do right? What did we do right? We look at, 3 key issues, right, that we intentionally focused on. One is we created a totally immersive branded experience. The space is comfortable, it's full of light, it's representative of their unique culture. It promotes meaningful, connections and interactions. And, like you walk through the space and part of their culture is, hiking in the Shenandoah. And so you get the feeling in some of the spaces that you are there, there is branding that's representative that reinforces, their values, right, as a company. The second one is really interesting, is we implemented technology that it's seamless throughout the space. And it's technology that you don't have at home. You can only get it in the office, right?
Like what?
Like, for instance, right, you can work from anywhere in the office. They have a roof terrace, they have lounges. You go into any room in the office with your phone, and it automatically identifies you and links you to whatever meeting you have. I don't think very many companies have that, right? And wherever you are, you're able to do that. And it's seamless in the whole office. And then the last one, which again goes back to the individual and how do you design for the individual, right? It's about people's health and wellness. And that is at the forefront in that space. And they have a wellness center, a medical center. They have a full-time nurse practitioner that comes there every day. And it's available for everyone. The design evokes, biophilic elements and, it helps.
I don't know what that means.
Biophilic. So think about, plants in the workplace, right? That are resembling, obviously the outdoors. You have a roof terrace with plants all over, beautiful views, daylight, biophilic elements like, patterns on the walls and, carpet that's reminiscent of natural elements. Implementing those kinds of strategies releases, stress and helps with concentration, right?
Makes sense.
Then, of course, everything is ergonomic. They have sit-to-stand desks. They have, acoustics is taken care of. You cannot hear. You don't have, noise pollution, you name it. So if you have for them those 3 ingredients, made the best workplace.
Cool.
And I'm not saying that you have to
Right.
use the same ingredients, right? Or the
Yeah.
same
Your recipe is going to
recipe.
be different, but what you're saying is based on your culture, based on your people, you've got, and I think that really is the emphasis here is you've got to design a workplace people want to come to.
But you need to know your people first.
Right.
Right.
Right?
Stacey, what's on your mind?
Yeah. So a couple things. Prediction for the future, Gen Z. You know, they grew up with so much technology, and I know that they're dying to connect. So do you see maybe the future, more people coming back to the office because of that?
So, I like to look at mega trends to be able to, forecast the future. And maybe, 5 years is too short, right? I'm always looking for trends that are going to influence the next 10, 20 years in the workplace, right? And so to me, those trends tell me that hybrid is here to stay, and we need to embrace it. All of us, corporate America, right? And the reason why I'm saying what I'm saying is because, if you read the Census Bureau, right, and the latest report, we're seeing a decline, right, of population. And we've seen a decline in the last 5 years that's going to accentuate in the future, right? Mm-hmm. And what is affecting that? Obviously COVID, right? Then there is, a decline in fertility, and that seems to persist, and it's getting worse, right, in our country. And then, of course, the other thing that's affecting, right, that decline is international migration, right? And so I don't want to get into politics, but because of that's another ingredient, right, to see a decline in population. The other thing that I think is really key here is, equity in the workplace. I'm a big proponent of, and supportive of women in the workplace. And one of the most telling reports that I read on a yearly basis is the McKinsey report on women in the workplace, the latest one. And this one was a 10th year anniversary. So what they did is they evaluated, right, the state of women in the workplace in the last 10 years and how it's changed, how it's evolved.
Yeah.
And even though that women, you see important gains, right, at all levels, right, entry level, mid professionals, managers, and even C-suite, we have seen an increase of women.
No doubt. Yep.
That improvement is very fragile. And it's very fragile, especially for women of color. And so the other thing that I thought was interesting is that this whole focus and commitment to DEI within corporate America is declining. So yet again, you're not seeing the growth and the success, right, of women in the workplace as, growing as fast as we should, right? And then the last piece, I think it's important, that it's a mega trend that's going to affect, right, your hybrid policies in the future, is this new transformational economy, right? So it used to be the experience economy, if you remember, right? Mm-hmm. And it started 20 years ago. Now we're evolving, right, and transitioning into this transitional economy that talks about consumers, right, that are increasingly paying for people to help you achieve your own aspirations. And so to me, all of that is going to affect, right, how we hire people, how we recruit, how we retain, and how flexible we are with our hybrid policies. And that's why I'm saying hybrid is not going away, and we need to embrace it, because we are not going to have enough talent to work in our companies. We need to focus on elevating women and minorities, and we need to focus on the individual. It's not about everyone in the firm. It's understanding your composition of talent and tailoring and being flexible with your policies.
Yep. I love it. That's great stuff. As we're running tight on time, Stacy, anything else on your mind?
Do you have any thoughts on owning versus renting space, like in the next 5 years, to make that more flexible for people?
Yeah, I think, leasing tends to be, the right answer. What I'm seeing is more, leasing timeframes that are changing, right? Especially for startups, right? Like ours. We're looking at short-term leases versus long-term leases of 10 and 15 years, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm seeing there's a variation of that. I'm working with, a developer, and we're developing a new prototype of a co-working space. So imagine next generation WeWork, right? That's tailored to small businesses, because if you look at the amount of small businesses that, have started in the past, few years, it has exponentially grown. Right. Yeah. And so creating these new spec suites that are tailored for the small business owner with short-term leases is the answer for the state of the market today.
Cool.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping you would say.
I like it. Well, good stuff. Mariela, thank you so much for joining us today. Great conversation. I've got a clearer picture than ever of where I think we're heading with the office market nationwide, and I start to picture, maybe what that looks like in the sub markets like DC where we are, and what we expect in those spaces, impacting our clients directly. So great stuff. Thank you so much for joining. Anything else on your mind before we go?
No, I think that, if I had to emphasize something, out of all this conversation, would be that, don't base the development of your hybrid policy on anything intuitive. Find out, right, what's important to your group. Find out, what are the policies that you think are appropriate for your group, for your business unit, for your company, right, for your staff, and then develop it and approach it as a prototype. And what that means is come up with what you think is right, and then test it, right, and adjust and evolve it, because then you're going to get to the right solution.
I think that's great advice. I love that. And if people wanted to connect with you, how would they do that?
www.studionbc.com. And I'm in LinkedIn, Mariela Buendia Corchano, and the firm has a LinkedIn page too.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
All right, Stace, what do we have happening next week?
So next week, we have the Alliance of Women's Safety Apparel Manufacturers joining us. They're a recent nonprofit that formed and to support women's workwear. And unfortunately, I have to miss that because I'll be in Boston for a conference.
Oh my God. And this is like so in your wheelhouse.
I know.
Is it going to be me and these wonderful people?
Yes.
All right. I can handle that.
Yes, you'll do great. So it's a panel. I think 2 women. Emily was on our show before. She'll be joining us. And we have someone else that will be joining her as well.
Yeah,
That's
I met with Sally yesterday.
Oh, you did? Good. Okay. I didn't know.
both of them yesterday. It'll be a very interesting. I mean, it's amazing how much progress has been made over the past couple
So
of years.
much.
We had Emily on along with some other folks a couple of years ago, right, or a year and a half ago,
Yeah.
in the huddle, talking about what she was bringing to market was like kind of novel. Oh my gosh, women's PPE, so cool, and now it's like everywhere.
Yeah.
They're really doing an amazing job. So they're gonna update us on that progress.
Yeah, they're still struggling to get it in certain spaces though, for contractors because there might only be 1 or 3 women in the whole company. So how to
It's inevitable. We're gonna get it eventually. It'll be
they're
easy.
gonna figure it out, but
Yeah.
that's why they're formed. So
Well, and that's
that'll
why
be
we're having them on to help to
Yeah.
spread the word. So it's good stuff. I love it. So, and I'll just remind our audience to make sure that you visit the Morning Huddle Construction Show.com. That is where you can subscribe on whatever streaming service you prefer to keep up with latest episodes. And also a place where you can contact us about if you or somebody you know is creating positive change in the construction industry and you want to bring us that story. We would love to talk to you as a guest. We are booked, I think, through like April or something crazy like that next
Yeah,
year.
we're booking up. We only have a couple slots left. So if you know anyone that's interested or you're interested, just send us a couple key points and we'll look, to see if
Yeah,
we
we'll think about it. I mean, but in general, we try to accommodate as many great stories as we can. So please do reach out. And Stacey, I think that's it for today. Go out and vote, vote, vote.
I plan on it.
Exercise that civic responsibility. Darn it.
All right. I'll
All
see
right.
you next week or
See
2
ya.
weeks.
Yeah. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Enjoy Boston.
Thanks. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.